This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. With 15 days left before Winnipeggers choose a new mayor, the rhetoric between candidates is heating up. Sean Loney went on the offensive today, chiding two rivals about their property tax plans. CBC's Bartley Kivas reports.
In River Heights, candidate Sean Loney revealed he'll raise property taxes if he's elected mayor.
I'm prepared to recommend to council a 3.7% increase with no increase in the frontage fee.
That 3.7% tax hike is higher than the 2022 tax hike of 2.3%. But Loney says it's less than what rival candidate Scott Gillingham is promising. He's promising a 3.5% tax hike plus a frontage levy increase equivalent to another 2.6%. Loney says Winnipeggers can't afford that.
People are struggling with inflation already. Very high energy prices are eating into disposable income.
Gillingham defended his proposed tax increases, especially frontage levy hikes he plans to dedicate to extending Chief Peguis Trail and widening Kenaston Boulevard.
Those are trade routes. Those move our economy. We need to make the investments to get our economy going.
Nonetheless, Gillingham and Loney praised each other for costing out their platforms, something they say candidate Glenn Murray has yet to do.
Where's Mr. Murray's platform? We're 15 days out from an election. We don't know how he's going to pay for his promises, and he's made many.
He pledged billions for grand plans to buy hundreds of electric buses. And suddenly he's now mad about potholes and making robocalls to the suburbs to promote an anti-tax message. These aren't the actions of a serious candidate. These are the actions of someone who's desperate to get back into office.
Murray's campaign has yet to respond to these comments. In August, he suggested he'd increase the tax base and reduce the tax burden, but he hasn't set a specific property tax target for 2023. Some other candidates have. Jenny Mockluck says she'd freeze taxes next year, while Kevin Klein says he would raise property taxes 2.3%. Klein says he'll devote most of that money to road renewals. He also called out Scott Gillingham for diverting that money away from roads during his final budget as City Council Finance Chair. Bartley Kivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Mayoral candidate Robert Falcon-Ouellette says the city needs to do more to support organizations wanting to create affordable housing. He made his announcement at a homeless camp on Higgins Avenue today.
If you want to tell them, those who are homeless, that they can't sleep here, then we need to have some place for them to go. Our goal is to support the people and the organizations who want to provide housing. So let's get it done.
Ouellette wants the city to hire more staff to help groups applying to programs that support affordable housing. He also wants to expand access to an information sharing system which helps homeless organizations coordinate their work. Ouellette's plan aims to create more than 1,300 units within the next 8 years. CBC Manitoba will host a live Winnipeg mayoral debate on October 19th, 1 week before the civic election. It's an opportunity for voters like you to learn more about those who might become our next mayor and where they stand on the matters that are most important to you. The live debate will air from approximately 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. on CBC TV and CBC Radio. It will also be available online at the CBC Manitoba website, on CBC Gem, and on CBC Manitoba's Facebook page. Information Radio host Marcy Marcusa will moderate the event. With less than 6 hours to go now until the union-imposed strike deadline, 5,000 Winnipeg City workers still don't know if they'll be going to work tomorrow or hitting a picket line, all thanks to conflicting statements from the two sides. After weeks of back and forth at the bargaining table, last night the Canadian Union of Public Employees issued a news release saying its negotiators had struck a tentative agreement to replace the city contract which expired back in 2021. But then, this morning, the city's CAO said a tentative agreement had not been reached and that he was seeking clarity from the union. This afternoon, the union issued a statement calling on Winnipeg's Executive Policy Committee to hold an emergency meeting and accusing the city of bargaining in bad faith. The last we heard at 3:30 this afternoon, the city said the two sides were still in discussions. The road to improving a new highway access in the city of Brandon has been rocky. It's taken years. And now Manitoba's infrastructure minister is being accused of overruling good advice. The CBC's Ian Fraze explains.
A Brandon developer has a dream for this lot southwest of the city, commercial and residential units. First, they wanted access off of 18th Street. After years of waiting and a denial, VBJ Developments recently got what it wanted. But it turns out Manitoba's infrastructure department wasn't supportive. A briefing note provided to Minister Doyle Panook and obtained by CBC News said there should be no direct property access onto expressways. It warned an approval would increase collisions and impact the wetland. Despite the objections, Panook approved the permit anyway. A city councillor wants answers.
I can't speak for the minister. I would like to know what went into them making that decision, though, because I'm the councillor. I'm not an engineer, and I want to be sure that we are still following expert advice when we're moving forward with this development.
Panook wasn't made available for an interview until late Tuesday. He says they're growing Brandon, but safety will not be sacrificed.
And when the design is done, they do reduce the speed zones. And that's something that we can look at, is reducing the speed zones from an 80 kilometers to a 50 kilometer zone.
Brandon engineer Mark Allard agreed. He says the infrastructure department's objections may go away once the traffic slows down.
I think driver expectation changes. I think the speed limits are reduced. And when you start to consider all of those factors, I think there's an opportunity to reduce the standards to a degree.
The NDP says Brandon ratepayers should be worried. The development is one reason, along with future growth, that Brandon wants $30 million for wastewater upgrades.
But at the end of the day, it shouldn't be upon the minister to ignore good advice, ignore the safety of a development, to ignore the impact that it's going to have on water rates for the average person in Brandon.
The NDP accused the PC government of doing the bidding of party donor Jared Jacobson, who owns the development company. When reached by CBC, Jacobson denied his donation having any role in the minister's decision. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The province wants to send a message to drivers who ignore warning signs and travel on roads that are officially closed. The RCMP says that its officers dealt with this issue an awful lot this past winter. People ignored barricades and closed road signs during winter storms. New legislation introduced today would see drivers who ignore those rules fined up to $2,000 or sentenced to 1 year in jail. The infrastructure minister says driving on closed roads puts people at risk.
When it comes to police officers, to paramedics, we want to make sure that people stay off the highways when they're actually closed, because the fact is it puts everybody else at risk, especially first responders.
Doyle Panook says fines could top $5,000 for drivers of buses and other large vehicles who are found to have broken the rules. Ukraine has been subjected to a second day of barrages by Russian forces. Moscow has stepped up its attacks on civilian targets and infrastructure. Ukraine reports at least 19 people have been killed. Hundreds others have been hurt. The eastern city of Dnipro has seen renewed strikes. Air raid warnings sounded there for several hours today as crews worked to clean up from yesterday's attacks. Ukraine's emergency services released these images of the aftermath of an attack in nearby Zaporizhzhia. The city has been the target of ongoing bombings and missile strikes and has suffered significant damage. The capital, Kyiv, has also been hit with renewed attacks after several months of relative calm. Now, Canada is offering some more indirect support to the Ukrainian war effort. In Poland today, Defense Minister Anita Anand announced the Canadian military will be providing personnel to help train Ukrainian fighters.
Canada will deploy approximately 40 combat engineers to Poland to help Polish forces train Ukrainian sappers on engineer reconnaissance, explosives, mining, and demining.
Canada has provided training to more than 33,000 Ukrainian troops. Anand says today's announcement will complement other training that Canada is providing to Ukrainian forces in the United Kingdom. The minister also condemned the Russian escalation to the war, calling the attacks war crimes. Anand was in Poland to sign a memorandum of understanding on defense cooperation. Of course, many Ukrainians have fled the war in their country. Those who found safety here in Manitoba and elsewhere in Canada marked their first Thanksgiving over the weekend. As Julia Wong shows us, the holiday brought conflicting emotions.
Alexander Polishuk's children are safe in this Edmonton playground, but the missiles striking Ukraine are not far from his mind.
I think it's like a terrorism, because people sleep at the night and rockets fly and push and some people die.
Polishuk, his wife and 4 young sons arrived in Canada in June. His boys have started school and he and his wife are working. This long weekend, they're celebrating their first Thanksgiving, balancing feelings of gratitude with knowing loved ones could be under attack.
It's a little hard what in a normal time, but these things what we need to say thank you because we're now in a safe place.
Evgeny Riverrook's family of 3 moved in with a Montreal couple after they fled Ukraine. They also took in 13 others over the months. Many of them reunited to celebrate the holiday weekend together, but Riverrook still wrestles with what he left behind.
Emotional, not good, because you sometimes think about how our family there and what they will do.
In Winnipeg, Svetlana Polozhaiva is getting last-minute items to round out her first Thanksgiving while distressed by the escalating attacks.
My biggest worry for Ukraine is that people are dying, children are dying.
So Polozhaiva is focusing on what she can control.
I'm thankful for being alive. If we are alive, it means that we have to do our best to go on our living.
As for Polishuk, he's living the best he can while keeping loved ones close.
We pray all days for Ukraine and for my city and for my friends and parents.
And he says he hopes one day they can go home. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
Meteorologist John Sauder joins us now after another day where we hit temperatures in the low 20s.
Yeah, low 20s, but boy, has it ever changed in the last few hours.
It has changed. It feels like reality is sweeping in.
Yeah, and this might be our last 20-degree day between now and next year sometime. You never know. All right, let's have a look at the current conditions. We are at 12 degrees. The temperature has plummeted. Check out the winds out of the west. 37 now, gusting to 59. So second straight hour, we've had gusts in and around that 60 range. And the automatic indicator out at the airport's picking up a few showers, a few sprinkles. The streets here downtown are dry for now. But yes, earlier today, 20.3 degrees. And just to put that into perspective, October so far has been pretty mild. 5 days in the 20s, including today, October 11th. So we've had a pretty good run up to this point. Last year, though, we had 7 days in the 20s up to October 11th. Actually, it was up to October 7th that we had those first 7 days in October that were in the 20s. And one more on the 18th. So there is hope. And as we head into the next week or so, all of our forecast highs are in the single digits. Showers in the area just around Winnipeg, too. You can see them just covering the west edge of the city now and up to the north of us, up into the Interlake. Some more back to the west, and then you look farther west, and we're just getting a circulation through the prairies now that will bring us some showers tonight and tomorrow. Not a lot of rain, but spotty showers at least. You look at Futurecast, and it looks like all-out rain, and it is across the north. 5 to 10 millimeters tonight. On into tomorrow, some of this changes over into snow up around Thompson, not quite as far south as Norway House, but we've got some showers in our area in the morning hours tomorrow, and then it's really, really spotty in the afternoon. I'd say this is about a 30% chance or less in the afternoon. But northwest winds will be strong once again. And as we head through into fall, you know, the morning temperatures, and if you have a strong northwest wind, it could pick up moisture off the lakes. And this is the forecast model looking at the possibility of lake effect snow coming off of Lake Winnipeg, Lake Manitoba. This is Thursday morning, and I've got flurries mixed with showers. And then on Thursday afternoon, more of accumulating snow in the north, all part of a low pressure system that continues to circulate that northwesterly flow into our area. And then you look at overnight into Friday morning, and we get some more of these flurries or even periods of snow mixed with rain. The other part of the story is the wind, and generally over the eastern prairies, we will see some heavy winds in the coming days. Tomorrow afternoon, we're still seeing strong northwesterlies here, but check out Saskatchewan, Weyburn with gusts to 72, and it's similar for Thursday. We get some of those red colors in the afternoon on Thursday. Here, not quite as bad, but we are looking for a couple of days ahead of us that will be rather windy. Projected rainfall amounts, not all that impressive, but the forecast modeling picking up on some of that flow coming off the lake, so higher amounts just to the east of the Red River Valley. And then 48-hour snowfall projections across the north are laying down some accumulating snow in that Thompson area. Up to 6 p.m. Thursday, maybe 12 centimeters in the Thompson area. So yes, winter is starting to show itself in northern Manitoba. Tomorrow morning's temperature 6, some showers, a chance of showers in the afternoon at 9. I mentioned single-digit highs going forward, just 4 on Thursday, 7s and 8s with more showers or flurries on Friday and more showers on Saturday.
Weather update is brought to you by Home Equip, your trusted local source for Pride Mobility scooters. From sales to rental and repair, our team is here to serve you.
Team Manitoba's Ringette team hosted a national prep tournament over the weekend. The tournament was meant to help players prepare for the 2023 Canada Winter Games in Prince Edward Island. Lynn Girardin is the head coach. She says the team is ready to compete after a couple of difficult years.
A lot of people who've never seen Ringette come and watch it, and their first comment is, wow, these girls can skate. My name is Lynn Girardin, and I'm the head coach of Team Manitoba for the 2023 Canada Winter Games. I've been involved in Ringette for the majority of my life. My dad brought it to our hometown where I started to play at the age of 6. I'm very passionate about it. I love that it's a female-only sport. It's something that we have on our own. The speed of the game, the passion, the love. We all come to play because we love the sport so much.
Jordan Watson, number 71, and I'm a center. I am stoked. It means a lot to make this team. I really want to represent my province, show them what we got, and just kill it.
Ringette is such a wonderful team sport. In order to get from one end of the ice to the far end, you need to use your teammates and pass out wherever blue line. So you have to rely on your teammates. You have to use them to be able to advance from zone to zone.
Well, we're expecting a medal when we go to the game. That is our end goal. We are really just trying to win every game, try and set goals, reach them, always get better every single game, every single shift, get better.
We are so happy to be back playing. The last couple of years with COVID, it has been difficult, not only on our athletes, but on our sport. And having that capacity and allowing the girls now back on the ice is just so exciting. Everybody is very thrilled.
I love Ringette, such a fast sport to watch. Hey, if you want to see that item again, want to watch anything on our newscast a second time, just subscribe to our CBC Manitoba YouTube page. The whole newscast is there. You'll find selected stories as well. But on the newscast, it'll let you scroll through so you can get right to John's forecast or watch something a second time. Stay with us. We've got some special election coverage coming up next. You're watching CBC. CBC Manitoba asked all 11 people vying to be Winnipeg's next mayor to sign up for sit-down interviews with information radio host Marcy Marcusa. And tonight we begin bringing you those interviews in the order the candidates signed up. The interviews are not being edited for content. They run the same length. Scott Gillingham was first elected as the city councillor for St. James in 2014. Let's begin by starting to get to know him a little bit better.
Scott Gillingham's favorite spot in Winnipeg is Assiniboine Park. His favorite app is Kijiji. His first job was on the family farm. Favorite book? Moira's Birthday by Robert Munch. Happy place? His parents' farm near Rose Isle. And Scott Gillingham's theme song, Fight the Good Fight by Triumph.
Scott Gillingham, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So you are a two-term city councillor.
I am.
Why do you want to be mayor?
I'm really excited about the future of Winnipeg, just our opportunities. And I think right now I've got the right current combination of experience to know what we do well at the city of Winnipeg and what needs to change. And also, the opportunities that we need to seize to build a stronger Winnipeg.
You also, with that experience, know how fiscally tight the city is. And so let's go to one of your key announcements. So you've announced, if elected, you would raise property taxes by 3.5% next year to raise additional revenue. Most of that hike goes to roads, renewals, and rapid transit. You also promised to move forward with two long-planned major infrastructure projects that Winnipeggers have been knowing about for years. The widening of Kenaston Boulevard from Taylor to Ness, the extension of Chief Peguis Trail west from Main to Route 90. Now, the question is, even with the tax hike and your plan to increase frontage levies, can you do it?
Yes, I believe we can. What's been really important to me is to offer a real plan and be credible about the plan. That's why early on, months ago, I said I would tell Winnipeggers how we would pay for, how much it would cost, and how we'll pay for it. And so I've released that. I challenge all other mayoral candidates to be honest with Winnipeggers and tell everybody how they will pay for their promises. The frontage levy increase is a dedicated tax, so it has to go to infrastructure under provincial law. And, we've just come out of 2+ years of COVID. I realize, the COVID is still among us. We've come out of 2+ years of the pandemic. And Marcy, that had over $220 million financial impact to the city of Winnipeg. We have drawn down on our rainy day fund. The rainy day fund served the purpose it was set up for. It helped us during COVID, and it helped us during last year's one of the snowiest, most expensive winters to move snow. Now it's time to invest in Winnipeg. Now it's time to rebuild and strengthen Winnipeg, which is why we need revenue. We'll continue to control costs, but we need revenue, which is why I'm proposing a tax increase and a one-time frontage levy increase.
Even people who might respect that we need the revenue to do these things, in your view, some will still be saying in a time of, in record high inflation, putting gas in the car and buying groceries is just affecting families. Some Manitobans may say, why now? Why are these big projects important now on my financial back, out of my pocket?
I think a couple of things are really important. First of all, the same inflationary pressures that the families are feeling, we're feeling as a city. And as I said, we had a strong financial stabilization reserve. It's been drawn down, and so we really need to make investments to grow our economy and grow our city. What I've said, though, with the two big projects, with Chief Peguis Trail and Kenaston Boulevard, we do it in steps. First, get an updated cost estimate on both projects, then do a business case study, a return on investment study, so we can make sure that we are going to get good return on our investment before we proceed to the next step, which would be to ask the federal and provincial governments to also participate in the investment.
And just last on this topic, because I don't want to stay here for our whole interview, but Mayor Bowman had 8 years. His big promise was rapid transit. You're also talking transit. Kenaston, we went so far with that as to have key stakeholders. There were residents, tons of open houses, maps. This is going to happen. Never happened. Why do you believe you can actually get it to the finish line beyond the finances?
I think, again, a lot of plans that did get interrupted because of COVID. The pandemic has really changed the course of things. There is an interest, I believe, the federal government and provincial governments would have, because those two projects, Kenaston and Chief Peguis, are trade routes. They really move our economy. And on Kenaston Boulevard, we have a very exciting new project, the Indigenous-led Economic Development Project, Nawi Odina, that stands to be the largest Indigenous-led economic development zone in all of Western Canada.
So that's your pitch to the feds for the money?
Part of it is, absolutely, because we need to see that project be successful. I'm committed to seeing that project now we didn't get developed and be successful.
Now, there's a poll in September, to move on here, suggesting crime is at one of the top election issues for Winnipeggers. You've talked about how police must shift their focus. What do you think needs to change?
We need to go back to crime prevention, to work so that we are stopping crime or preventing crime before it even happens. One of the ways that we will do that is I'm committed to building a community safety plan. Right now, police, we've done the analysis. Over half of the calls that police get to 911, at their core, Marcy, are not policing calls. They're more social services calls. And so if we can free police up from some of that social services work, it will give them more time to be in the community preventing crime. I have also committed to
How are you going to do that?
Well, I've also committed, for example, to reestablishing a joint task force that the RCMP and Winnipeg Police Service had. It was a warrant force, and it would go after individuals, dangerous individuals who are in our community right now that are breaching their court orders or breaching, there's a warrant out for their arrest. We need to go back to that by making sure that individuals that shouldn't be in our community are not in our community and back, incarcerated or in jail, where the services that they actually need can catch up to them. That will also go a long way to preventing crime.
What do you believe you can achieve as mayor that you weren't able to make happen as a city councillor?
Well, as mayor, really the mayor sets the agenda for the policy and direction of the city. And I believe, as I said, at the outset, that I've got, the right set of skills of experience right now to set that agenda. But also, I'm really committed to collaboration in a big way. Each of the 15 councillors is going to be elected by their community. They need to be at the table assisting in making decisions. My leadership style is one of collaboration, and I'm committed to doing that. So we're drawing in input from all council.
Last minute, 3 questions. We're being ambitious with this. Okay. But the first one is, before being elected to City Hall, you were a pastor for about 20 years. How did that prepare you for politics?
It's servant. It's about serving the community. It's about working on behalf of others to try to make a difference in their lives and make their lives better. I see politics as an extension of service. It really is public service, and I'm honored to do it.
If a young person or newcomer came to you and said, "Scott Gillingham, I'm leaving Winnipeg. There's nothing here that gives me hope," what would you say to them?
I'm trying to build the city where you'll want to stay, plant roots, and thrive. A city that reflects your values and priorities. Better, faster transit, a greener city, a cleaner city, a city of opportunity, a city where you can have a job and a career and the opportunity to build a life here. So I would tell them stay, because we're working on something great.
My last question was, how do you see Winnipeg in the future? Is that the answer?
It is. I see it as a stronger city, a healthier city, a safer city, a greener city, a more vibrant city, with more people living in the downtown and people deciding to move. When they leave their parents' home, they move across the street or across the neighborhood instead of across the country.
Scott Gillingham, good luck on the 26th.
Thank you, Marcy.
We'll speak with Winnipeg mayoral candidate Robert Falcon-Ouellette a little later in the program. Sponsors, politicians, and provincial partners called for change at the helm of Hockey Canada. That change is coming. The story in John Sauder's Manitoba forecast after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Your vote, your choice, your chance to see the candidates go head-to-head. Join us for the Winnipeg Votes 2022 mayoral debate, October 19th at 6 p.m.
There's been a major development in the Hockey Canada saga. The head of the beleaguered organization and the entire board of directors resigned today, effective immediately. These changes come amid growing outrage over the organization's handling of sexual assault allegations and its response to criticism. Ashley Burke has the latest.
The Prime Minister repeatedly called for Hockey Canada's leadership to step down. Now that's finally happened.
There's work to do to transform the culture at Hockey Canada, but today was an important first step.
After days of growing pressure, Hockey Canada's president and CEO Scott Smith resigned. So have the entire board of directors. Hockey Canada issued a statement saying it recognized the urgent need for new leadership and perspectives. It comes exactly 1 week after the interim board chair Andrea Skinner's defiant appearance before a parliamentary committee reviewing Hockey Canada's handling of a 2018 alleged sexual assault involving 8 players, including members of the World Junior team, as well as a fund made up in part of players' fees to settle a $3.5 million lawsuit. Skinner described Hockey Canada as the victim and said the leadership team wasn't going anywhere.
Or to scapegoat hockey as a centerpiece for toxic culture is, in my opinion, counterproductive.
A tidal wave of major sponsors pushed back, dropping support entirely or sitting this season out with the men's program. Skinner then resigned over the long weekend, but the backlash didn't stop. Bauer today says it won't provide equipment to the men's team.
Huge damage to Hockey Canada because of the Board of Governors staying on too long, in my opinion. They have lost millions of dollars through sponsorship that took decades to come.
The fate of the World Juniors in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia in December also still uncertain. Both provinces' premiers say the resignations are a start, but they want more answers from Hockey Canada to decide if it's enough.
What does it mean? A change of guard, but what does that mean in terms of process and procedures, and what are they going to implement differently?
The Minister of Sport says the new leadership change must implement real change to fight sexual violence.
Starting today, we're going to work with the organization to rebuild it.
Provincial hockey federations will vote on a new board of directors in mid-December. And now that the old board is gone, the question remains, can the organization win back support from sponsors, fans, and politicians? Premier sponsor Tim Hortons says that it will not reinstate its funds to the men's hockey team until it is confident that progress has been made. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
John Sauder joins us once again. There's a tree that I see every time I arrive home, and it's losing leaves steadily. The winter forecasting is going to have a big effect on that.
Yeah, I think the trees are going to take a bit of a hit over the next few days, and did yesterday as well. The wind is going to stay strong out of the northwest. I want to show you the upper flow here because that has a lot to do with temperature and wind as that upper flow moves to the east and across into the prairies. This is going to advance this over the next couple of days, but we are in a flow here that is keeping us in the upper trough. And at the surface, there is a low pressure system that will anchor right around Hudson Bay in the northeast section of Manitoba, and just going to continue to deliver that northwesterly flow right into southern Manitoba. Jet stream, milder air well out to the west of us in the coming days. These are the current numbers, down from numbers that were up around 20 degrees earlier this afternoon. So we dropped to 17, went to 18 in Winnipeg, and then all the way down to 15, now 12. Downtown, we're at 14. Steinbach and Morris also at 14. And in the southwest, we already are seeing some temperatures cooling into the single digits. Dauphin, Swan River, Barons River still at 11. We still have a 20-degree reading, though, in Kenora and 19 in Red Lake. So it's on the way. Just taking a little while to get here. West, cooling before the east. Still 10 in Churchill, 18s in Gillam and Island Lake. Very warm in the northeast, but again, that will change. Forecast conditions for tonight, at least a chance of showers in most regions in northwestern Ontario. You look at southeastern Manitoba, we'll see some spotty showers as well. We've already seen some of that on radar. Temperatures staying on the plus side of the zero. The normal low is now right around 0 to +1 in southern Manitoba. We'll get down to 3 in Brandon and in Swan River. 6, though, with still a few showers around Portage-la Prairie. Not much accumulating rain here. We're just talking about a few showers. Some evening rain in Flin Flon the Pas, and then just cloudy. Rain overnight in Thompson, also in Churchill and in Gillam. And then some of that will hang on into the morning hours. We've got morning rain in Norway House, another 10 millimeters on the way in Island Lake, and periods of rain out toward Gillam. So the northeast going to see some of that rain changing into snow later in the day on Wednesday and early Thursday. Showers windy around Portage, windy in Dauphin, a sun-cloud mix, windy in Brandon tomorrow. We're pretty much all in that northwesterly flow, gusting to 50 or 60 on into the afternoon and evening. Rain tapering to showers in Barons River, more showers in the White Shell area and across into northwestern Ontario. So very unsettled weather over the next 24 hours.
Thank you, John.
You bet.
Catch Sean's forecast anytime when you're on the go or whether you're at home. Go to CBC Manitoba's YouTube page, subscribe. You can scroll through and catch things when it's convenient for you. Up ahead, next, another feature interview with someone who wants to be Winnipeg's next mayor. We'll be It's time to get to know another of Winnipeg's mayoral candidates. Former federal member of Parliament Robert Falcon-Ouellette was the second candidate to sign up for an interview with CBC's Marcy Marcusa.
Robert Falcon-Ouellette's favorite spot in Winnipeg is Selkirk Avenue. He doesn't have a favorite app. He prefers human connection. His first job was delivering newspapers. Favorite book? The Power of One by Bryce Courtenay in South Africa. Happy place? Teaching about Indigenous culture. And Robert Falcon-Ouellette's theme song? Rocky.
Welcome, Robert Falcon-Ouellette.
Hey, ni me contactancy et ni matane Ottawa Pamtikok. Merci beaucoup pour m'accueillir ici aujourd'hui.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks.
You ran for mayor before in 2014. You came in third, and then you became a federal MP. You were defeated in 2019. So now you're running again. What attracts you to public office?
I have to ask myself that every day because I think this is actually a very tough job. When I was the MP, I was actually surprised about how difficult it was to be the MP for the downtown riding. There were so many needs, and often I found it's very lonely in politics. There's not a lot of allies who really care about some of these issues, which I think are so important to the city. And I know people are starting to wake up a little bit more to the whole issue surrounding homelessness and addictions and mental health and crime levels in our city. But I found when I was in politics, while politicians, colleagues, and former colleagues would say, we care, at the end of the day, they are often focused on other things of greater importance to them and other people in the city.
Why do you want to be Winnipeg's mayor? Why come back to the civic level?
Well, actually, that's a good question. Do I really want to be? To be honest, it makes me a little nervous.
Why?
I'm going to be honest, because I think there are so many challenges in our city. And I think anyone who says otherwise is fooling themselves and doesn't understand the amplitude of what we're facing. And the challenges we have facing and trying to come to solutions on that. So the homelessness issue, the addictions, the mental health challenges downtown, how we actually fund public transportation, how we build a beautiful city. We proposed a lot of things in this campaign and a vision for our city, which I think is going to be beneficial. But, at the end of the day, what I want to build is a city where our children could ride the bus, where bus drivers are not afraid to be on the bus themselves. Imagine, sending your 14-year-old on the bus. Would you feel safe and secure in knowing that if there was an issue that they had someone they could talk to and find immediately? I meet so many people that fear being even in certain neighborhoods and even just in downtown, that I wonder, how are we actually going to find a vision to actually build the city? And so I've been looking at ways of other cities that have had similar issues, Oklahoma, Quebec City 30 years ago.
And what was the key for them in things that could seem daunting or overwhelming, or as you stated, how you're viewing the challenges, I think, as you put it ahead, in having achievable goals? Because you've talked about a child-friendly city in your campaign. You've talked about addictions and the need for different ways of helping people.
Well, I think with the addictions issue, you have to slug at it day after day. I don't think if you think at any time that you can go and relax and go into certain neighborhoods and just hang out with people who are a little bit richer and a little bit, at the end of the day, you've got to be down in the urban center of the city, dealing with it day in and day out. You cannot hide away from it. And you cannot pretend that it does not exist, not even for a moment. You've got it, and I think politicians sometimes say, well, I can check a box and do the press announcement. I can announce a little program, and then I can go focus on the people I really want to focus on. And while I think business leaders do need help, at the end of the day, if you're not focused on these issues time and time again, it's never going to find a solution. And so what I actually dream about is actually good urban design, where we actually develop a downtown core which has housing, which has mixed housing. 20% of our downtown core is surface parking lots. 20% of that is actually owned by government. So why don't we actually develop it, give those lands owned by the government to community groups to actually build housing which is mixed with doctors, lawyers, teachers, civil servants, people who are business owners, but also people who are on income assistance, all living together with young families and building a supermarket downtown. These are like things we should be TIFFing, about the TIF, tax incremental financing. Why don't we do that so we actually build the downtown, which we can all be proud of?
So do you feel you could do that if you were elected mayor? Like, could you,
yes.
would you, for example, just to take one small thing, if it's not a small thing, to take one specific thing, supervised consumption sites.
Yes.
If you're mayor, does that happen the next day, despite what the province, being there or not?
Obviously, the issue that we face is if people want to work with you, then we're going to work together. But at the end of the day, for so long, we've been standing around, humming and hawing whether someone's going to work with someone else. And some days decisions have to be made, and someone's got to have the guts to move forward and just say, we're going to do it.
So do you do that even if the province says
you have to move
no?
forward.
Do you find a way?
You have to find a way of working together, but at the end of the day, all options are on the table, because if we keep doing what we're doing, we're going to get the same results. And I've said this actually about a lot of the people who are running. I think some of them are fantastic. But, and I'm going to listen and watch their ideas, and I want to incorporate them. But I think you actually are going to require a leader who has an ability to understand all the groups who make up the city. As someone who has a PhD in anthropology, I've been studying the city for a long time, thinking about all the different groups and how they intersect together. There are so many issues even related to Indigenous peoples that don't get the time of day and dealt with properly. And there are tough questions not only for Indigenous peoples that need to be asked, but also for the rest of society. And we have to ask those tough questions.
Now, there are 2 minutes left, and I want to get to some of the other questions to talk about you personally. And I also want to ask about rail relocation. I'm going to leave that to the end because it's a big topic.
Yeah.
So these are questions that are broader first. So what is your most challenging quality? What would friends and family say would be your most challenging quality?
What does that mean, challenging?
We all have them. I can be impatient. To offer an example.
My most challenging quality is I am a workaholic, and I have to be able to take that time off. I will literally sleep in the office, and I have slept in the office when I was the MP on many, many occasions because there was so much work.
What's your best quality that would suit you to lead the city?
I like to think deeply. I like to reflect a lot on something, but when I make a decision, I will commit to it 100% until I see it through. And I have lost battles, but I have won wars in Ottawa on many, many issues.
What would people be surprised to know about you, especially because you've been a sitting MP and you've run for mayor before? What would surprise people?
That some days this is not as much fun as people think, and there are other things that I really enjoy in life, like being with my children, reading a good book. I'm actually not a people person, if people don't believe that, but I actually like being on my own with a good book or playing a musical instrument and just being by myself.
30 seconds for rail relocation, and my only question around it is, why do you believe that it's doable this time around? This has been on the books for a long time.
At the end of the day, we need to actually study it. We need to have the numbers on the table so we can actually make a decision. And public transportation is so important, and this is part of it. Analyzing why we're spending so much money on infrastructure trying to get over rail lines versus whether it's just cheaper to move them outside. Now, I know there are people who say yes and no, but we don't have any concrete numbers. And this comes back to the whole transportation system. Sometimes it's just getting the numbers speak for themselves. So like creating a safe, affordable, convenient transportation system, which is clean, like the buses, making sure the buses are only $1. This would actually drive up ridership. And these things, people think it like they're policy decisions. We need some big, great thing that's going to solve Winnipeg's problems. What we need is 100 little projects done very well, done by a multitude of people working together, which is actually going to make our city a beautiful, thriving community, which is livable, that we would be proud of for our children living in, and allowing people from Montreal, Toronto, and Vancouver saying to themselves, that's a city I want to live in.
We will leave it there. We thank you for your time. Good luck on the 26th.
Thank
you.
We'll spend time with 2 more mayoral candidates tomorrow night, and we'll post all of the interviews, all 11 of them, on our website. Tomorrow we'll chat with Glenn Murray and Jenny Montkaluk. They'll tell us why they want to be your next mayor. Your 7-day forecast and daily lift are still ahead tonight. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
There are many people who bring success, innovation, accomplishment, and charity to our community. It's time to celebrate them. CBC Future 40 will honor 10 Manitobans under 40 making a difference. Help us discover the inspiring people in our province by nominating a shining star in your community today. CBC Future 40. For details, visit cbc.ca/future40mb.
Well, this is looking a lot more like the season. Your 7-day forecast includes a couple more windy days, some pretty cool temperatures, a high of only 4 on Thursday, 7 on Friday, still some showers, and 8 on Saturday, and then we start to dry out. It is cooler on Sunday. Once again, a high of 4 degrees, but it is a little bit drier. Wellington Zoo, now this is Wellington, New Zealand, has experienced a population explosion among its ring-tailed lemurs, apparently.
What is going on there?
I don't know.
They are celebrating the recent arrival of not 1, not 2, but 4 sets of twins. Here's your daily lift.
A lot of lemurs.
This is Zeus, the father, has done his job. And to be honest, he has a tough job because he only has a 24 to 36 hour window while they're in that season, and they only breed once a year. So he got around very well.
And in the lemur world, that's apparently a good thing. The baby boom has doubled the zoo's population of these endangered animals. The lemur pups were born to 4 different females, all of them first-time moms. The first set of twins arrived in August. The most recent were delivered last week. Lemurs are native to Madagascar. Their population has been declining in the wild. They're listed as endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources. But hopefully efforts like this at the zoo might help them repopulate one day.
Yeah. Did you see the one there that had the smile on his face?
That's probably the dad.
Yeah.
Is that what you're thinking? Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us.
Have a great night.
We'll see you tomorrow.